John, we have a very timely guest again this week. The San Francisco Giants are one of the better stories of this early season, and their president of baseball operations and a great baseball player when he played, the likely Hall of Famer, Buster Posey, will be joining us.
Yep, absolutely great guest. Thanks, Joel, for getting him. I appreciate it. Thanks to Matt Chisholm with the Giants for helping out with this one. Terrific guy. Has a big job. It's going to be interesting to see how it works out. It's starting out great, obviously. There was a great vibe around the Giants. I don't know if you noticed it. There was a great vibe around
I
the
did.
Giants in spring training, and it's carrying on into the season. In fact, not to tout my predictions, I did pick them as the surprise team. I didn't have them in the playoffs because the National League, it's tough, but the Giants are very good and it's certainly way improved.
Well, we're going to talk to him about his Giants. We'll talk to him about his career. We'll talk to him about why he took this job. You and I will talk a lot about Vlad Guerrero and the Mets and the Yankees at the top. We'll play hit and error at the end if you stick with us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. John, I think there's an obvious place to start this week in the news, and it was news that you've been all over, especially since spring training moving forward. You were breaking as much information on this as anybody in our business, which is Vladimir Guerrero's 14-year, $500 million agreement with the Toronto Blue Jays. No deferrals, no opt-outs. He's in it for the long run with this team. I think you and I reported at some point that it was probably going to take like the $500 million. It took $500 million. John, just because you've thought so much and reported so much and written so much on this, what do you think about where we are with Vlad Guerrero and the Blue Jays?
Yeah, we can't be surprised that it got done. We know there was a deadline, those deadlines, they come and go. We had many deadlines set during the Alonso negotiations with the Mets, and Alonso eventually got done, and he's still a Met. So, those deadlines are not 100%. They're not ironclad, as we know. And when we reported that they'd offered 500 million deferred, and then Ken Rosenthal quickly reported that he wanted 500 million not deferred, it looked at that point, they were only 50 to probably 50 million, 75 million apart. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but in the scheme of things, that's not a lot of money. And at that point, we figured, well, you know what? They probably need to get this done. Mark Shapiro, who's the head of baseball and other things in Toronto, suggested he felt good about it. That was another good sign. And of course, I was at the game on a couple days ago. And it seemed clear at that point that he was staying long term. I think I got the hint when I went up to him and said, "Congratulations," and he said, "Thank you very much." That was probably clue number one that it was working out.
Yeah. John, as you point out, like $50 million over 14 years for a baseball team owned by Rogers Communications, which is a dominant company in Canada, is not a significant amount. The question is, like if he gets out in free agency, we know free agency could go wild. You are really good at this, and one of the reasons you're good at it is you generally think it's going to get higher than most people. And we didn't see 765, for example, coming for Soto. But once you get teams bidding, I asked this because Guerrero had a couple of things going for him. Youth, he just turned 26. He is a superb hitter in an age where it's very hard to hit, though there was some inconsistency there. But the market doesn't really love first baseman, and it doesn't, there were questions, he's a heavy set guy. How will he age as time goes along? If he gets out into the marketplace, does he even get close to this number? Or are the Blue Jays reacting to we can't let a big one get away and
Well,
overpaid significantly because of
yeah.
it?
I'll say this: he's worth more to them than to anybody else due to the brand. He's an iconic player. I know he's not Soto. He's certainly not Ohtani, but he is one of the top 20 players in the game on production and on fame. And there is certainly a value of that, and there was a huge value of that to the Jays. Now, whether you've got more, I guess obviously we'll never know. One GM in spring told me he told me that he felt that he was worth every penny of 500 million. Of course, that guy has no money. He could not have he would not have come up with the 500 million. So I really don't know. Of course, many of the other GMs were saying they didn't think so, but they're in management and they maybe don't see the future. We didn't see 765 coming for Soto. I certainly did not. Thank you for complimenting me, but I do not see the future. I think I had predicted about 615 or something like that, so I wasn't close. But more to the point, sadly, I don't know if it's sad really, but the Jays didn't see it coming. They didn't see it coming. They had been trying to sign him for years. I mean, obviously he's a star. He's been a star for years. He was second in MVP to Ohtani at one point. They should have gotten it done earlier. I mean, it's no crime that we didn't see it coming for Soto at 765, but that's their job. And frankly, I know everyone's going to congratulate them for getting it done, but this could have been done a lot sooner and for a lot less money. I mean, look, Rafael Devers got a good contract at the time, certainly a very good contract at the time, over $300 million a couple years ago. And that was the time to say, you know what, he's a comparable player to Guerrero. Let's get this done at $300 million. But they never really got there. My understanding is a little more than a year earlier, they had offered something in the realm of $200 million less. He gained $200 million for waiting. He had a good year, obviously, last year. That changed the equation to some degree. And then Soto signed for $765 million. That changed the equation even further. So, I mean, you never know where this is going. Nobody can predict it, but certainly the Jays management did not predict it. And good for them that they got him done. They got him signed. They had to get it done. But they got it done for probably $200 million more than they should have gotten it done for 2 years earlier.
John, this is not meant as a defense of this baseball operations group, because I certainly could point out a lot of mistakes they've made along the way. And you just pointed out perhaps the largest one. But I do feel that they got laid on with this. They can't get the big one done. And the two big ones they missed on were Ohtani, who signed with the Dodgers, and he was always going to sign with the Dodgers, and Soto, who signed with the Mets, and Steve Cohen wasn't going to get outbid. Like, they didn't lose to the Cleveland Guardians and Milwaukee Brewers here. They lost to, the Dodgers made the playoffs 13 straight years. They have all this stuff going for them. The Mets have Cohen. It was the Yankees lost to the Mets in this. And I kind of think this got layered on. Look, I mentioned the Mets. It's hard to ignore, John, that on opening day, Vladimir Guerrero got a big ovation at Citi at the Mets home opener, but so did Pete Alonso.
Yes.
And now there's an obvious question that's going, and you wrote about this well, of course, in the Post in today's, either yesterday or today's Post, because I read it online. I'm not sure which day it appeared in, is what is the carryover to Alonso? You felt that this worked out right, that Guerrero, born in Canada because his father Vlad played up there, signed with this team, should be here for the long term. It's felt like you felt the same way about Alonso, that the Mets and Alonso should figure this out over the long term. Do you think player A has a lot to do with player B? Beyond that, it takes a chess piece off the board for the Mets to potentially replace Alonso well. Right. They wanted to move on from Alonso.
I probably, but the main thing I think is I'm happy when a guy stays with the team that he started with when he's a star. I think that is always the better solution, right? If you've got a star player, that player is worth more to your team than another team. Vlad Guerrero was worth more to the Jays than he's worth to anybody else. I think Pete Alonso, same thing. He got an enormous ovation. I don't know. I didn't measure it. I don't have a decibel reader, but it was pretty close to the Soto ovation, who would just come over from the Yankees. I mean, can you do anything better than come over for the Yankees and be here commit to 15 years? And his ovation was pretty comparable to Soto. So, I mean, I do feel like the Mets should get it done. I felt they should have tried to work out a long-term deal. I'm not blaming them. Maybe that was Pete's thing, that he didn't love the long-term offers or whatever. And they had made an offer, as you reported, a while ago in, I think in the summer of some year, right? Was it 2022 or 23?
June of 23, right? Because it would have covered the last year of arbitration.
Right. It was before Stearns, right?
It was with Billy Epler was in charge.
Right.
7 at 158. And look, I think he's going to make more over these 7 years than that $158 million. The question is, how much is he going to have to grind to it, right? Like he had an
Right.
arbitration year at 20.5. He's making 30 this year. I mean, if he's upright at the end of the season, he's opting out of the 24. So he's 50.5 into it. John, I just have this basic question. And again, I'm talking to someone who I believe understands these markets better than I do. Pete Alonso, even let's say he has a good year, which for Pete Alonso is a 40 to 45 homer season. He seems to have gotten off great. His mind seems in a great place. He's in obviously a terrific lineup, hitting third behind Lindor and Soto. If he has that, he has the qualifying offer go away, which is huge for him. Can't be offered twice, but he's going to then be 31, a non-athletic, non-defensive first baseman. Does the market really change for him because of Guerrero and no qualifying offer, or is he just going to have to grind and do like another good 2 year deal? But if the 2 years might be for 32 or 35 a year, as opposed to be able to do like a 5 or 6 for something significant.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to work out better ultimately financially for him. I do think that qualifying offer is enormous. It is not a big deal for a Soto or for an ace, a true ace like Burns or Fried, but for everybody else, it's a factor. And certainly for a first baseman who's a slugger or not in demand for whatever reason, I think there's nothing wrong with being a first base slugger myself, but certainly the analytics people don't love them at the moment. At one point, we loved the fact that a guy could hit home runs and hit the 3-run homer and walks and homers with a key. But now apparently the analytics is not loving a guy who's, a slugger and isn't a spectacular fielder and runner as well. So, I'm with you. I think as long as he's upright, he's opting out. He is convinced, and I think he's right, that the qualifying offer was a major factor in his very difficult off season. And even at 31, if he puts up 40 home runs, he's going to do much better per year than he would have done had he signed that deal. That said, Stearns and company, I don't believe they were ever going to give Guerrero 500 million. They're
I'm
not
with
going to
you,
get.
John. I believe that too.
That's not their thing, and I get it, and I don't
I
think
think it's not their thing in part, John, because at some point, 5 or 6 years down the road, both Soto and Guerrero are probably going to have to DH. And you have to, I know you want to live in today. The Mets haven't won a World Series since '86. This is year 5 of Cone.
Yeah.
They wanted to win within 5 years, but you just can't condemn yourself to that kind of money 5, 6 years from now with players who kind of look obvious heading towards the DH role. John, can I just spin this here so we could end our first block talking a little about the Yankees? You mentioned Max Fried.
Mhm.
I think it hits the area that the Yankees have gotten off well as we're talking. They're 6-4, barrel bats or not. They're hitting lots of home
Yeah.
runs, scoring lots of runs. I think they have a real starting pitching issue. I think that one of the starting pitching issues was when they signed Fried and they were going to put Fried and Cole together, it was supposed to take some weight off of Rodon, who I think is not the kind of guy you want to throw more weight on. And now all of a sudden, every one of these Rodon starts because Carlos Carrasco's in the rotation, Will Warren's in the rotation. Quite frankly, Marcus Stroman stuff looks like it's down another notch so far early this year is in the rotation. Feels like they got to get a lot of length and a win on the Rodon and Fried days as much as possible. They
Yeah.
got Clark Schmidt back probably in the short run here next week at some point, and they hope Luis Heel may be in June.
Yeah.
But they feel one starting pitching injury away from real trouble, regardless of how good the offense is.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I will say this, and we, have fun with Aaron Boone with putting a good spin and, a happy face on everything, no matter what. I do agree with him that Rodon was better than he pitched yesterday. That was a strike 3. That was not ball 4. Then then he gave up the home run to Ibanez. So I think he pitched better. He's doing, his whip is actually much better than Fried's, and even though his ERA is double Fried's right now. So, it's early. I think Rodon will be okay. The issue is the bottom 3 right now in that rotation. To combine, they have a 7 ERA. That's just not going to cut it. Now, they'll get Schmidt back in fairly short order. Hopefully, they'll have Heel back in, a month and a half or 2 months, hopefully, and that will alleviate the problem. But for now, you've got a team that's got the most home runs by far. In fact, a record total number of home runs through, I don't know, 6 games through 7 games. I'm not sure if it continued, but They have a 913 OPS as a team. I mean, as Oswald Peraza is hitting up a storm. Grisham is hitting up a storm. Rice has been fantastic. It's not only Judge, it's all the other complementary players. I mean, these are outstanding players too, but they should be better than their record with what they've hit. And the issue is right now 3, 4, 5 in their rotation are issues, and there's no other way to say it. And they're going to have to try to keep hitting like this until they get reinforcements back in the pitching department, which means Schmidt and Heel as soon as possible. Don't rush them, but as soon as possible, because they are needed.
Schmidt, Heel, and look, there's few sure things that feel like they're going to need to trade for a starting pitcher between now and July 31st. They'll be lucky if it's just one. To me, John, there's the Maddox where you pitch a complete game in under 100 pitches. I think that Rodon threw a Burnett yesterday. AJ Burnett was great at his stuff looking great and just enough walks, the ill-timed 3-run homer, the not finishing a guy off with 2 strikes, and being out like where you walk and go, didn't he have great stuff today? And somehow he gave up 5 or 6 runs. That's a Burnett to me. And
I get it, but he does have great stuff. So
he does, so did AJ Burnett. It came out in Pittsburgh, not in
all right. Okay, but he does have great stuff, and he'll have some great games where he doesn't do that at the end, give up the 3-run homer. So you're right. I get it. He pitched a lot better than the result, but I feel okay about Rodon. We better feel okay about Rodon. Otherwise, it's just Fried alone. That's it.
Read and pray for rain.
Yeah, it's supposed to rhyme, I think, but yes, yeah. And frankly, Fried hasn't been great to this point, right? I got to be honest. We love the guy, and he's going to be great, and he's got a 140 ERA plus lifetime. He's amazing, and I'm thrilled for them that they signed him, but he hasn't been that great either.
No. Then they need him to be great. They need Rodon to be above average, and they need the other guys to hit some level of competence and or get healthy. John, a team that's off to a great start, surprisingly, this early in the season is the San Francisco Giants. Their president of baseball operations, Buster Posey, joins us next on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman. John and I are so happy to be joined by Buster Posey, 3-time champion, catcher of the Giants, 7-time All-Star. Likely, I'd hate to jinx you already, Buster, Hall of Famer at some point when you come up for the 2027 class. And since late last September, president of baseball operations of the Giants, who are one of the surprise teams early this season. So, Buster Posey, thank you for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Buster, look, your team is off great. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but I wonder if we could just start with this. Players of your skill level who've made the kind of money you made in your career, this is not usually the career choice to be in charge of baseball operations for a team. Why did you decide to follow this as a passion?
Well, when you were asking that question, that's the word that came to mind. The last word you said is passion. I mean, I've had a passion for baseball since before I can remember. And, I was very fortunate to play my entire career with the Giants. I was in a position that when our children started going to kindergarten, we could make this our permanent home. So this became home for us. My wife and I are from a small town in South Georgia. When I finished playing, we moved back to Georgia, and then we're back in the Bay Area a year later. And when this opportunity presented itself between the passion that I have for baseball and the Giants, it was just an opportunity that I felt like I couldn't pass up. And it's early on, but I'm really enjoying it. We've got a great group from front office to coaching staff, all the way minor league medical department down. And the players are, as you mentioned, playing some good baseball to start. So we're having fun.
Yeah, I was in your camp briefly in spring training, and Larry Baer had told me at the hotel that you had a great vibe, and when I was there, I felt it. I think Adames was a great ad. How much does that matter? And did you feel in spring training, this team's going to be better than people think because of the atmosphere around it?
I think the atmosphere matters. I mean, ultimately, it does boil down to having great players. Adding a guy like Willy Adames, there are intangibles that he brings beyond what he does with the bat and the glove. I've been impressed. He's not off to a great start, but his demeanor is the same in the dugout. He's happy when guys are having success. And then even Verlander, kind of same thing. It's a different personality than Willie, but his track record brings so much. It's been fun to watch the younger pitchers throughout spring training, just kind of watch him. And he's been great with offering advice. And I feel like he and JP Martinez, our pitching coach, have a great rapport early on. And so, yeah, I think vibes do matter, but ultimately it's about great players and execution.
So we're talking vibes. I'm wondering, and I know I agree with you, great players, but I'm wondering if you bring something different. There was a day long ago, John and I have been doing this, where ex-players were generally the people who ran a baseball operations. I think it's only five now. And I believe that you have a good relationship with Chris Young, who does this for the Rangers. And I know during their run to the championship 2 years ago, I talked a lot about with him all that postseason about feel, that there's something that if you play the game, you have a feel about like who understands how to play to the scoreboard instead of like a swing arc and whatever. Do you think that you bring something that is not cookie cutter to the Giants that could have great value?
I hope so. I mean, ultimately, I think this, like most things in life, is a people business. And when you say feel, it's being able to understand that everybody from players to staff all have different personalities, and it's going to take maybe different conversations with different people to get motivation out of them. I don't think I'm not going to sit here and say that you have to be a ex-player to have great feel. I think there are plenty of people in the game that didn't play that have great feel, but it's a pretty great education to, be on the field, be behind the plate, understand what the family life is like for these guys, and understand the ups and downs of the season, the triumphs, the disappointments, and to also understand, I guess, a firsthand experience at the difficulty of the game, but also knowing that there's certain things where it's like, no, there's no excuses here. We have to push harder and we have to be better at this. So, again, I think it's useful. Do you have to be an ex-player to have it? I don't think so.
You mentioned Verlander, and that was an interesting signing. One future Hall of Famer signing another future Hall of Famer. In fact, the player is the older of the two guys. He is older than you. What did you see in him? Why do you faced him? I'm sure a couple of times as a hitter. What do you see in him, and how long can he? Because he is the oldest player in Major League Baseball right now at 42. How long do you think he can go? And obviously he's adjusted, but tell me about his adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, I may be wrong here. I thought I read he's the oldest across the four major sports, but regardless, we know he's the oldest in baseball right now. John, I'd say early on in the conversations, I was really just listening to his voice. I was trying to get a feel for his tone, to understand if there was truly motivation there, and it was apparent early on to me that there was. Now, it's you mentioned it's 42. There's definitely risk, and the toll that he's taken on his body throughout his career, but he told me he felt like he was in a good place. He was able to connect with JP. And his, unsurprisingly, his work ethic is off the charts. I mean, you don't have a career like his without just an outstanding work ethic. But we're thrilled to have him. I mean, you talk to Justin, and I think he's going to play for as long as he can. And right now, there's no signs of slowing down. So we're thrilled to have him on the staff.
Yeah, when I was in with you guys, I was talking to Zach Manazian in Arizona, and Verlander came up a lot. Your pitching came up a lot. That was the belief that you guys would be good at run prevention, that your pitching would be good, and early this season that's been true. Do you think you have enough offense to kind of keep up with the really good Joneses in your division in the NL West and make a real strong playoff run? And if so, why? What about your offense?
I believe we do. I mean, I probably, again, not a surprise to you guys. I do believe that pitching and defense wins you a lot of games. I think, especially in our ballpark, you can manufacture 3, 4, 5 runs. with good pitching, you're going to be in a good position to win the game. There's been a strong emphasis from day one with Bob Melvin and his staff on just the basics, fundamentals of catching the balls, and with Chapman and Adames leading the way. I mean, these guys are working their tails off each and every day, just perfecting their craft on the infield. Um, Offensively, it's been a point of emphasis for us to try to manufacture runs in different ways. We've I think that's what's encouraging to me through these first 10 games is we've won some games in some different ways. We've had some comeback wins with some clutch homers. Guys are kind of just last night was a good example. I mean, Green was outstanding the entire game, and we found a way. Jung Hoo got a 2-out hit, Chapman walk, and Ramos hit a ball right on the screws that, to quote Bob Melvin, if it's one thread lower, the game's over and we win that game. So ultimately, we want to be a gritty, grindy bunch that is putting pressure on the opposition, and hopefully being able to manufacture runs in a lot of different ways.
Buster, our producer Tommy has texted me that you were 1 for 2. You may have heard this by now. 1 for 2. You probably didn't know this, but you may have heard this. You were 1 for 2 with a double off of Verlander in your career, so that's pretty good. 500.
Yeah, I don't know what I did in the World Series off of. I feel like he got me in the World Series, but we had Pablo to cover me there.
Okay. Well, you guys did pretty well in the World Series, Pablo included. You were the best player on a team that was not favored 3 times, and you won 3 World Series despite being not favored not only in the World Series but going in. Obviously, we think you have a good team, but that the league is the better league at this point. That your division seems like the best division. What do you think? Can you get in the playoffs? I mean, Arizona's improved. San Diego's very talented, particularly at the top. Dodgers, we know how good they are. Can you do it?
You have to believe you can. I mean, I'm not sure why we show up if you don't believe that you can. Agree. It's a very tough division. And hopefully it's one that the guys on the team, they look forward to the challenge. I mean, you're in the big leagues and arguably playing in the best division. So should be a lot of fun, exciting games. And, yeah, again, I mean, as a baseball player, you guys know you've covered it for so long. We try our best to stay in the day, and moment to moment and adjust as we go. And so far, I feel like the guys are doing a good job of that, and we'll hope to keep that rolling.
I mean, we should say it. We haven't given you opened the season 8-1, which was the team's best record since 2003. Also starting 8-1. You mentioned lost last night, 8-2. You're up to it. At the top of the division. I wonder if I could test drive a theory about your division. So I remember when the Yankees kind of won a bunch of championships in the late 90s and kind of built up their payroll and built up their star caliber. It kind of forced the Red Sox to go with them and some other teams to do it. It feels a little bit like I don't know if San Diego and Arizona and yourself would be quite as motivated to do certain things, but if the Dodgers are going to be the standard and you got to kind of follow, it feels like they're making the rest of the division better by establishing something. Do you feel that that's the place? Got to figure out how to take them down if you want to get into the playoffs.
I think it's a fair theory. I don't know if that's for certain. I do think when you play great talents, if it should elevate your game, hopefully, right? But on the flip side, it's important for us as San Francisco Giants to have pride in being a San Francisco Giant and understand the history of this organization, and that we have a high standard no matter what's going on in our division or across baseball, and we want to play to the highest standard, and you know that's something that's important to every single person in this organization. So I think there could be something to that, but also I think something Zach and I have talked about a lot is making sure we take care of our business and run things the way that we see best fit.
One of your first big moves since you were in charge was to lock up Matt Chapman. And when I was in spring training, several people suggested to me that he feels better. He doesn't have to think about the contract. Was that part of your motivation? And why did you decide to lock up Matt after he had struggled so much in winter the first time? And it was reported that you and he finished the deal together. Is that right? Did you do the deal with him?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Chappie lockup was before I took over. We did have a conversation. You have to ask him if he felt like it was helpful or not. But to answer your question about why we feel good about him, I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff that we've been talking about throughout this interview. Is it's the person, it's the intangibles, it's the work ethic, his maniacal focus to be the best third baseman in baseball, just an extremely talented player. And it was pretty apparent when I've talked to him how much he wanted to be here. And I think that obviously goes a really long way. And he seems to be happy. I know he's really comfortable with Bob Melvin and with their history and past. And um, I've mentioned this, but we want to target guys that want to be on the field every single day. And Matt Chapman certainly fits that bill.
Buster, you mentioned the kind of player you want. You mentioned yourself. This is where you've been your whole career. I wonder, do you think part of what your job one, is changing perception a little bit about your team, your city, etc., right? Because their narrative had grown. Players who had turned down the Giants, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, etc. You made a very bold move. Adames set the team record for highest salary, eclipsing what you received when you were a player, and you did it very early in free agency. Are you trying to change a narrative about this franchise slash city as part of it so you can get what you need?
I don't know if it's change a narrative or maybe help people remember. I mean, we were when we were going on our run when I was playing, I don't know how many years we had, 6 or 7 years of sold out ballparks, and the city was buzzing with the Giants. So a lot of it's playing good baseball. It's getting people in Northern California excited about the Giants and bringing in great personalities. I mean, I think that's something that I started to learn towards the end of my career that um, yes, you want great players. Yes, you want a lot of wins, but the personalities matter as well. And ultimately, this still is an entertainment business. It has to be fun for parents to bring their kids or friends to go to the game together. And even when they're watching on TV, the hope is to build something that people, if they're not at the ballpark, they want to be at the ballpark. They feel like they're missing out on something. So this part of the world is very special to me and my family, and hopefully, as guys like Willie come and Chapman and even Verlander, that the rhetoric around how it is to play for the San Francisco Giants and the experience will be a positive message that's out there.
You're very modest. You actually 1 for 2 off of Verlander in the World Series with a strikeout, and you guys obviously won that World Series
Oh,
in a surprise sweep.
didn't know
So
that.
you did okay. I mean, I don't know this, but I don't think it's about the Giants. I think it's about the area. I mean, Joel and I obviously are not ball players. We couldn't even pretend we're ball players. We love San Francisco. Why? But it's not just Aaron Judge and Ohtani. This has been going on a while where players are reluctant to go to San Francisco. Do you have any feel for why this is and what you can do about this? And does it help that you were a ball player who obviously thrived there and loves the area?
Well, I mean, I can't answer for anybody else, right? I can only talk about my own experience, and I think it speaks for itself. The fact that my wife and I moved our family back out here after just a year being back in Georgia. So, again, like you said, I mean, I think it's one of the greatest cities in the country, and one of the more beautiful places in the country as well. And it's I've always felt, I don't know what you guys think. You would probably be able to answer it better than me, but I've always felt like when Oracle Park is rocking and has a great crowd, it almost has, there's a little bit more of an East Coast vibe to it than even a West Coast. It's it's not quite as laid back as some of the other ones. Now, I will say I think San Diego's up the bar on the intensity at their games as well. But it's a great fan base. I mean, it's a fan base that goes back generations, and I think, and that's something that I have in the forefront of my mind is that when we're talking to our fans, these are fans that some of them have, remember the Giants even when they were in New York and before they came to San Francisco, and it's a proud fan base, and it's a great fan base to play for.
Buster, there must be something wrong with me. Maybe it's the baseball gene that I can't play. I love San Francisco and I love Toronto, and all I hear is players don't want to play in San Francisco and Toronto. So I don't get it. I think they're two of the best cities in the world, not just in North America. Buster, obviously there's an obvious answer to anybody who played and certainly played at your level would like to make the Hall of Fame. You retired after the 21 season. It's the class of 2027. Do you put much thought into it that you are going to be up? There's going to, Joe Mauer got in recently, who was a catcher who had great success over a shorter period of time, like you did. Your career wasn't long, but it was brilliant while it was there. How much do you think about it? How much do you crave this?
Yeah, I think about it from time to time. I think I go back to my first answer about my passion for baseball. I think about it, but I also it's weird to even for me personally to consider being mentioned alongside the historical great baseball players that are in the Hall of Fame. So um, would it be an the ultimate honor? Absolutely, it would. But at the same time, I think for me, I've always put my emphasis has been on my family and my kids, my wife, and if I got in, that'd be wonderful. If I didn't, life will go on.
That's a good answer. I mean, I think you're obviously a Hall of Famer. It's about the impact on the game. You won 3 World Series as the best position player on those teams. So to me, I mean, to look at the career totals and say, well, maybe it could have been a little bit. I mean, you were a catcher of the best team. Anyway, that's enough from me. You've said you have belief in this team, and I think you probably have belief in all your teams. But I got to ask you, I didn't think you were winning the World Series, and I covered all 3 of those World Series. What did you, or even the playoffs? You got through rounds of playoffs, and obviously you had great pitchers. You had 3 of the greatest pitchers of that time. But let me hear it from you. What did you think going in? Did you feel like everyone was underestimating us, and we should win this, or we may win this?
I think, John, there was always a feeling on our teams because of the pitching that that even across the league, we felt like other teams knew we were going to be dangerous if we got in the playoffs. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it was an internal belief that we had that, hey, just get us in, and we'll see what happens. We feel like we're going to measure up as well as anybody based on our pitching ability to catch the ball, come up with some big hits. And it played out that way, and how much does that belief that we had internally play into the results? I think it matters some, I mean, it felt like a group with a quiet confidence. And then, as you mentioned, I mean, just unbelievable pitching, and it's hard not to think about Bum in 2014 and just the unbelievable feat in that World Series of what he was able to do. Game 5 shutout, and then coming in Game 7 and shutting the Royals down. It's I don't know if we'll see it again, maybe, but doesn't feel like it.
Buster, as a way to wrap up, I'll stick with a champion. The defending champion is in your division. It's the Dodgers, and for luxury tax at least, they've taken their payroll up to $400 million. And there's been lots of questions asked if the Dodgers are good for baseball or bad for baseball. As somebody who has to contend with the Dodgers in the NL West, and it is their natural rival, right? Starting in New York and then moving to the coast. What do you think of the Dodgers?
Look, the most simple way for me to look at it is anytime, again, thinking about this through an entertainment lens, that you can have a juggernaut team. I'd love to be a juggernaut team one day. But anytime you have a juggernaut team that has the immense talent that they do, I think it's a good thing. I think it causes conversations about it. I mean, every time I'm interviewed, I get asked about it. And so I think that's good for baseball as a whole, for the industry. The more we talk about baseball, the more people that are talking about baseball, I think it's a good thing.
Well, good luck with your work on building the juggernaut as you try to track down the juggernaut. And Buster, we really do appreciate you joining us on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to you.
John and I, of course, thank Buster Posey for joining the show. John, hit or error?
I'm going to give a hit. I'm getting soft. Actually, 2 hits to ex-Astros. Great moves by the Cubs and the Red Sox. Tucker and Bregman, players of the week. They've been fantastic additions. Tucker, I'm not going to say it out loud, but I'm sure he's thrilled to see Guerrero get $500 million. He's off to an amazing start, leads the league in just about everything. Another sign spring training means nothing. When I got to the Cubs, he was 0 for 20, and I got to Arizona pretty late. So he didn't have a hit halfway through spring training. He did hit a home run in that game, but great all-around player. Pete Alonso's high school teammate. They may be the 2 biggest free agents going this winter now that we don't have Guerrero as a free agent, Tucker and Alonso. The other one who could be is Bregman, who also has an opt-out in his deal, and that's my other hit. The Red Sox did the absolute right thing. They have so many great young players. Campbell's off to a great start. Meyer's going to be fantastic. Roman Anthony is the #1 prospect in baseball. So hats off to Chaim Bloom, friend of the show. Did a good job there in terms of bringing in young guys. And Alex Bregman, the perfect guy for that clubhouse. He's doing a great job. I think they got to work it out and extend him as our guest, Buster Posey did with Matt Chapman. I'm guessing that there's a good chance Bregman will be extended by the Red Sox at some point, but he could be a free agent, as we do expect that Tucker and Alonso will be this winter.
Yeah, that's a good one, John. I'm going to give a hit. I'm going to give 1,500 of them to Francisco Lindor, who reached that milestone yesterday. And I just want to point out 2 things because I find both interesting and somewhat amazing. The parallel of Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez's career is amazing. They played the left side of the infield together for 6 years in Cleveland through 2020. Do you know Jose Ramirez also has exactly 1,500 hits?
I didn't know that.
Their numbers are similar. And I asked this spring, I was talking to Lindor about big goals in spring, like the Hall of Fame, 3,000 hits, etc. And he mentioned he didn't feel like he was on that line. He mentioned Jeter's hitting ability. For example, he said, I don't know how he does. He says, I feel like I get a lot of hits. I don't know how you get 200 hits. And just to make the point, through 1,384 games, Jeter had 1,757 hits, or 257 more than Lindor, who feels like a great hitter. Lindor is going to finish this season probably at about 1,600 hits through age 31. Through age 31, Jeter was at 1,936. It was amazing what a hitting machine he was, because Francisco Lindor is such a great hitter and and started young like Jeter as well, and just cannot. Now he's power wise. Lindor has it on him a little bit, and defense probably has it on him, which is why I think he's on a Hall of Fame track. Because 1,500 hits at 31 is special, and he's been a special player, so I wanted to give him a hit for those 1,500 hits.
Very good. Another friend of the show who's been on and will be on again at some point. Terrific. He's a terrific guy. To me, he's on a Hall of Fame track. Does that mean he's going to be a Hall of Famer? No, because we've seen a lot of guys on a Hall of Fame track who didn't become Hall of Famers. Chuck Knobloch, but there have been many, many, many others. Don't want to pick on him, but many others like that. But Lindor is not going to fall off the face of the earth like Knobloch and some others. What were you going to say? You look like you're itching to say something.
It was amazing that you picked Knobloch. I looked at the guys who had more than 1,500 hits through age 51, and the 2 names that stuck out were Chuck Knobloch and Jose Reyes. Guys didn't, to your point, you maybe at 30, 31 felt those 2 guys were on at least a chance at Cooperstown, and you see how hard it is to sustain the greatness to get all the way there. So it was interesting you
Right.
picked out the names. Those were the two that really stood out as I looked at the list.
Yeah, I mean, Jeter was amazing. I mean, really, I almost think he's underrated with all the criticism I hear about his fielding, which is to me ridiculous. I watched the guy. He was not great going to his left. I get it. He was great going to his right. He was great coming in. He was great going back. He was great on pop-ups. So I'm not sure what the analytics are telling you there. But yeah, I do think Lindor is better defensively. Lindor also does have more power, as you laid out exactly. I would say that analysis was that you gave was spot on. And I do feel like Lindor is not going to be one of those guys who falls off as, some other guys have done, not to pick on Knobloch and Reyes, but, they didn't keep it up and they're not Hall of Famers. Lindor's not going to be that guy. He is dedicated to the game. He came after having his first boy, not that it matters, boy versus girl, his third child. He came and he could have played. He wouldn't have missed one game. I mean, if he was working at the Post, he could have had three months off of doing nothing, right? So, we're very nice and lenient here at the Post, but and Mendoza's very nice too, good boss. But as he said, he has a great wife, and he is absolutely dedicated to the team and the game, and that's why he will be a Hall of Famer. I'm going to say that right now. He will be a Hall of Famer.
Yes, when we're doing this show like 15 years from now, we could say, remember when John said this?
I'm not really going out on a limb there.
Yeah. I mean, like Jeter, Lindor's durability is part of it, is that he gets into the lineup every day. And I thought Jeter was a lot like our guest Buster Posey. You had to see it to fully appreciate what they brought to a team every day. And I think we could say the same thing about Tommy Hogan. Did you like that transition, John? you have to see it every day, how prepared he is for as soon as we say, can we do a show? Tommy's over there for us.
He's the Posey of producers. Yes.
Yes. He's not taking 3 months off. Who are we thinking of, John? So thank you always to Tommy. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, please rate and review us. The New York Post YouTube page, give us a view, and please stick with us all season on the show with Joel Sherman and Jon Heyman.